Namaste, my friends. My name is Sherry Sutton. I am your marketing mentor. So happy to be here today to talk about relationships. One of the most impactful things that I've ever done in my business is to really focus on creating strong relationships with other people in my community, in my broader community. But we're going to talk a little bit today about how to create those relationships in a way that's genuine. One of the things that we all hate is when we meet someone and they're like, hey, let's have coffee. And we have coffee and they're all like gross and they bring you like samples of their stuff and they want to like sell you all the time. And like that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about creating genuine relationships. So I'm going to pull up my slides and excuse me, I am getting over a little bout with COVID. Lovely. So I apologize if I'm coughing throughout. All right. Here we go. All right. Let's again talk a little bit about creating genuine relationships today that are going to allow you to grow tomorrow. So, we all know that people see so many marketing messages every single day, right? How many don't you feel like completely overwhelmed by the amount of marketing materials you see, not only on social media, but everywhere, right? On television, on Netflix, not that any of us watch TV anymore, but on Netflix, right? We're always seeing different brands, different things that we can buy. We are inundated with marketing messages. You drive down the street, you're inundated with marketing messages. It's estimated that we see over 10,000 marketing messages a day. So how do you stand out from that? And this is and now it seems to be an old number. I've heard there's new research. People are saying that this can be up to 29 times. But people need to see your message at least 7 times before they're even willing to buy from you. So even if we look at this as 7 versus 29, that means that people need to meet you. They need to see you. They need to have some sort of a connection with you multiple times before they're willing to even consider buying from you. That's a pretty high bar, right? So developing those relationships needs to be a really important part of your overall marketing mix. So it's not enough, though you need to, but it's not enough to have just a magnetic message and a magnetic product, right? Those are incredibly essential. And if you don't have those, please give me a holler. We will figure out what exactly are you offering and what's the magnetic message that are really going to draw people to you. And there's a very specific formula for how you do this. And again, I'm happy to work with you on figuring that out. Actually, later on, towards the end of this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about how you can do a 90-minute session with me and we can figure out your exact marketing message. But having a really strong message, having a really strong product is essential, but don't forget that people buy from people. And that means that you need to connect with people on a one-on-one basis. And this can be really hard for people who are introverts. And so I'm going to talk about some ways that you can stay in touch with people without necessarily, I believe that it needs to be in person, but you can use social media as a tool to help you stay in touch with people in a way that may feel more comfortable to you. So, because if you leave this presentation with nothing else, just remember this is that people buy from people. So the relationships that you make today are going to bring you business tomorrow. I can promise you this. I spent about now 2 years ago, so I was in the second year or so of my business. I really leaned into doing a lot of networking, and I can promise you that it made a huge difference in my business. Even when the people that I met weren't buying from me, they were still recommending me to other people. And so that work, I promise, will pay off. All right, so let's talk about a couple techniques that you can utilize in creating these relationships. The first one is networking like a boss. And I don't mean networking maybe in sort of the normal way that you talk about here. So pick 2 to 3 organizations where your ideal client hangs out that you can consistently engage with. Consistency is the key. also the key is finding a few organizations that you're really going to engage with and being visible on an ongoing basis. If we go back to a previous slide where we talked about the fact that people need to see you at least 7 times before they are willing to even think about buying from you. And now, again, that could be a much higher number. That means you have to be at these networking groups, meeting people on a consistent basis, but you really can't do that with more than a few groups, right? And it's okay to kind of change these groups over time. The groups that maybe I hung out in when I was telling you I did that really strong networking push a few years ago, that push, like those people, some of those groups I'm still in, some of them I'm not, right? Some of them I felt like, I've sort of met the people I'm going to meet here. You need to constantly be refreshing those groups, but when you're in it, you're committed to it for a long period of time. One slide that I didn't put in this presentation, and I want to take a minute to talk about it here. Many people get very nervous about in-person networking meetings if you're an introvert. If you're an introvert, there's a couple things you can do. One is I recommend going to networking meetings where you get whatever it is, 15, 30 seconds to stand up and introduce yourself. That might scare the crap out of you, but it's going to be easier for you to practice something like that. You can utilize a coach like me, but put together your 30-second pitch, practice it. But standing up and being able to introduce yourself to all those people at one time is going to be a great way to meet all of them without having to meet all of them. For an introvert, even for me as an extrovert, walking into a room that's just sort of a networking, like let's all have happy hour thing where you don't know anybody and you have to go introduce yourself or kind of insert yourself into a group, that can be incredibly challenging. And frankly, you only get in front of a handful of people at those events, where the events where you get to introduce yourself, you're going to get an impression with everyone in the room. So I usually recommend those, especially for introverts, even though you have to stand up and talk to people. Again, it's 30 seconds of real discomfort versus maybe 2 hours of discomfort trying to find people that you can talk to. But pick 2 to 3 organizations where your ideal client hangs out, where you can introduce yourself to everyone in the group. Again, if you need help with this, give me a holler. You can come into the studio. We can chat on Zoom. We'll put together your 30-second call. We'll get you to a place where you're super comfortable doing it. You may never be completely comfortable, but you can at least, be comfortable enough to do it. But you want to go to places where your clients hang out, right? So you don't want to go, I find a lot of people will go to let's say the Chamber of Commerce, which I love, and I do a lot of things with the Chamber of Commerce. For me, the Chamber is great, right? I support business owners. Everyone who goes to the Chamber of Commerce generally owns a business. So for me, it's great. But I was talking to someone a week or so ago, and they are in the medical field, and I was like, I don't know if the Chamber of Commerce is really the best for you. Let's think about who are the people who recommend you. Can you get in front of those people in the best way possible, right? Where can we find a place that's super targeted for you? So think about where your specific clients hang out and get in front of them at those networking places. Then show up in those places consistently. Again, consistency is everything and anything that you do in any part of your marketing plan. Once you have your marketing plan established, if you don't have a marketing plan, please give me a holler. We'll help put one together. But consistency in that plan is everything, right? Whether it's networking as part of your marketing plan or posting on social media or email marketing, whatever it is, you want to pick a few things and do them incredibly consistently, because again, people need to see your message many, many times before they're willing to buy from you. And they're inundated all the time with different messages. So that consistency becomes incredibly important. Okay, now you're going to these networking meetings, you're starting to connect with people. You want to utilize social media to extend those points, those touch points with people outside of that networking meeting. So I recommend that you use, especially Facebook is a great place to do this, but sometimes it can be Instagram, it can be TikTok, wherever your audience hangs out. But you want to follow people, friend them on Facebook, or again, Again, LinkedIn's a great one for this as well as if you're selling B2B. You want to send them a little note, right? Hey, it was so great to see you at such and such. Give a little introduction. Don't be, don't be salesy, right? Don't come in and be like, hey, I sell blah, 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 right? Talk to people as a person, right? Hey, I'm Sherry. This is a little bit about who I am, right? This is a little bit about, you can say a little bit. I mean, don't hide what you do, but you don't need to lead with that. And you certainly don't have that be the main thing you talk about, right? So I have and if you want to see a copy of it, I'm happy to send it to you. But I have a direct message that I send to people that's like, hey, here's who I am as a person, right? I grew up in, here's where I grew up. Here's some of my hobbies. I've got a kid. I've got a dog. All of those things. And then I say, and for work, here's what I do. And I'd love to connect more. Again, keep it personal. These are relationships. These aren't sales interactions. So the other really important thing to do is when you're at these events is to take photos and tag people in the photos. People love having pictures of themselves, especially on social media, mostly because they're often working with coaches like me who are telling them to post more on social media. And if they're not doing it, they know that they're supposed to be. And so they appreciate you taking pictures and tagging them. Posting in the groups that you're in. So a lot of these networking groups have a group associated with them usually on Facebook, sometimes on LinkedIn. So you can just, connect. Hey guys, wanted to, say hi, see what other people are posting about, give advice to other people as they're posting or asking for advice. Many of them will have a place where you can promote yourself. So when it's appropriate, yes, please go ahead and do it. When it's not, doesn't mean you shouldn't be engaging in the group, right? Use it as an opportunity to build relationships with people. Just chat, right? It's kind of the same as hallway conversations, used to be back when we were all, let's say in an office or something like that, in school or whatever. And then also engage with other people's content, right? Whether they're posting about personal things or business things, always engage with their content. Okay. So now you've gone to networking, you're using social media as a way to stay in touch with people. But if you want them to stay in touch with you, it means you need to be posting regularly on social media. Obviously, this is a whole other training presentation that is many, many days long, but I'm just going to give you some basics here. You really want to vary up your content. So you want to do some things that are personality based. I don't say personal, I say personality, because again, people buy from people. You want to show a little bit of your personality. So I like to say about 30% of your content should be personality based. 30% should be 60% should be advice based, where you're talking about the challenges that people have that you can solve uniquely through your product. And then only about 10% should be pure promotion, like, hey guys, go check this out, do this, that type of thing. And again, this is a days long training in and of itself, but if you don't have a content calendar that really includes these things, let me know. I've got a 90-minute session that we can do where we just put together a content calendar that's got all these components in it. So post on your personal page, not just on your business page. This is for a few different reasons. One is you've connected with people personally especially on Facebook. So you want to post on your personal page. That's where you're going to be connecting with people the most. This can be a real challenge for some folks, especially people who are Gen Xers like me or boomers, where we were taught that, work is over here, right? And our personal lives are over here, and there's a big wall in between, and we will not cross that wall, right? What happens at work happens at work. What happens at home stays at home. That's not how business is done now, right? Especially when we are building networks with people who are going to help us grow our business down the road. We have to tear down that wall. The lines between personal and business are blurred. Now, that doesn't mean that you turn into, a robot who does nothing but sell your products all the time. But You do want to be posting on your personal page. And again, utilizing that formula of a little bit of personal, a lot of advice, with just a tiny bit of promotion along the way. And again, this is something that we could talk about in a one-on-one session, but I wanted to share that a little bit with you now. Also, the other thing is Facebook really doesn't want to share anything that you put on your business page. The reason why is they want businesses to be paying for promotion through advertising. So your business page is really never going to get the traction that you want. The algorithm is always working against you. That's okay. Once you know the rules, you can kind of manipulate those rules. One, by posting on your personal page, though I do believe their business page is still important because it does lend legitimacy to your business. But we can talk about how much time you spend on that. Again, this is another presentation for another day. But posting on your personal page as well as your business page is important. But personal, as you're utilizing this method of using social media as a way to extend your networking, becomes really, really important. Again, people buy from people. So utilizing pictures and video is everything. They want to see your face. I know you think that no one wants to see your face, but we want to see your face. We want to know who you are as a person. Now, you can do that in a way that's comfortable for you. If video is like too much, totally cool. You don't need to do video. You can do photography. Find a great brand photographer. I happen to know one. I'm a really great brand photographer. And I also help people to create short form video. But getting your face out there is incredibly important. And we can find ways for you to do that in a way that's comfortable for you. But you have to do it. You have to have your face out there. Okay, so the third component of this strategy is social media engagement. So you want to engage in a genuine way with other people's content on social media. This is both their personal content as well as their business content. So you want to do a couple things. First thing is liking. The second is commenting, and for whatever reason, all the social media platforms, they love emojis. So definitely include emojis. They used to say at least 5 words and an emoji. I haven't seen any research that says otherwise. One of the unfortunate things about social media is the people who run them are never going to tell us, like, hey, here's how we work our algorithm. So we're always guessing a little bit, but that tends to be the guidance, is at least 5 words and an emoji. Share people's content, right? If you think that your people would love it as well, share it as well. I send everybody in my network a birthday message, just little things that you can do to engage with people on an ongoing basis on social media. Also, it's a lot easier, frankly, than going to all the networking meetings. And when you go to these networking meetings, you might not get to talk to anybody. So use this as a tool to continue to engage with people in a meaningful, person-to-person kind of a way. Okay, so the fourth strategy in developing networks is meeting with people one-on-one. This can be a little bit of a challenge. It can become something where you do way too much of it. There's apparently a book out there called Death by Coffee. And sometimes you need to be in a death by coffee phase of your business. Let's be honest. You're starting a new business. You need to be meeting as many people as possible. You need to be getting to know as many people as possible. And so you're going to spend all freaking day doing coffees. I've gone through phases like this with my business, and then it'll kind of, I'll get busy and it'll die down. I'm in another phase right now where I'm going back and engaging in some new networking groups. So my coffees are going to start up again. But I can tell you, getting to know people on a personal level is so incredibly important. Does it take time? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. So have a way for people to be able to sign up for time with you on your calendar. This takes sometimes it takes longer to schedule the coffee than it does to actually have the coffee. So I like to have a way that people can just schedule time with me when it's convenient for them on my calendar. I do block off times where I know I'm going to be having coffees with people, just because it helps me to feel a little bit more in control of my schedule. So I block my schedule. Like, here's times I'm going to meet with clients. Here's times I'm going to do consults. Here's times I'm going to do coffees. Here's times where I'm doing strategy work, or here's times I'm creating content. And so I allow people to go onto my schedule to create, to schedule coffees, but I don't just make it open. I have it kind of put in certain times. I have a studio. So for me, a lot of people just come to the studio. I have an option to do virtual coffee as well. Totally fine. A lot of people just can't get out of their house, or frankly, like, it's a whole extra half hour to drive somewhere sometimes and then have coffee and, put on shoes and get dressed. And we're all really busy. And so I find that even with local people, I'm still doing 30-minute coffees, and we're still doing just virtual coffee. So on my calendar, I have an option for both. One, they can come to the studio on the days that I know I'm going to be in the studio, or we just plan virtual coffees, and they're great, right? I mean, I can connect just as easily through Zoom. Some people have a hard time with that. That's a skill set for you to grow and learn, because this is incredibly important, is being able to meet with people outside of, just because sometimes just scheduling doesn't allow us to meet in person, but you still want to have that opportunity to connect. I have one of my mentors, actually, she will do, I think it's like a Thursday afternoon, and she does from like 1 to 4 on Thursdays. She picks a coffee shop, she goes and sits in that coffee shop, and that's where she does all of her coffees, and she just does them one right after another. That's another great technique for doing this. So who do you want to meet with, right? So here's the people that I think with. Obviously, you want to meet with people who are prospective customers, and probably they're gonna tell you that they're a prospective customer in the beginning. I often will say, like, hey, do you want to grab coffee? And you'll know often if they're a prospective client. If they don't say to you they're a prospective client, go in with the idea of just creating a relationship, right? This is just creating some friendships. You're not going in there to sell. If you're going in there to sell, set it up as a separate meeting that's a consult. So you're going in with a different kind of energy. These coffees are designed to, just be connections. So they might be people who are potential clients. I really like meeting with people who I call connectors. So connectors are, and you can tell who they are when you go to these networking meetings, because they're like talking to everyone, right? So I always like to meet the people who are the connectors. They're the ones who know everybody. They're the ones who know everybody's name. They're the ones who are like, oh my God, text me later. Or, they seem to know everybody in the group. One, they're often the people who are most likely to meet with you. And two, they're the ones who are going to kind of help you to navigate the group, introduce you to people. This is especially important for my introverts, is even for extroverts, right? I find that finding those connectors, finding the organizers of the group, spending some time with them, asking them for their guidance and their advice and their support in learning people in the group and getting to know people in the group, those relationships tend to be the most powerful. The other people you want to meet with are what I call your soul sisters, right? The people who you're like, oh my God, I don't know if you'll ever buy from me. I'll probably never buy from you, but you are like one of the coolest people I've ever met, and I have to get to know you, right? Because we all want people like that in our lives. They fill us up. People who fill up our cups absolutely have lots of coffee with them. And I can promise you, those soul sisters connect me more and refer me more than anybody else. And then, of course, people who, again, they may never buy from you, but they may recommend you. So, let's say, like, for me, somebody who is like a web designer is a great recommender. We would recommend one another. And so we could say, hey guys, let's have coffee and talk about how we could work together, how we could recommend one another. So those are some of the types of people who you might want to have coffee with. And in these coffees, again, this is not a sales pitch. This is not a consult. If you are inviting somebody to coffee, you are going in with the idea of creating a relationship, not selling. You're going to make a connection, not sell. If they say, hey, I would like to talk to you about how you could help me, sure, you can change it into a sales call, or you could even say, like, hey, I was just excited to have coffee with you today, but let's set up a consult on another time, just so I'm prepared. I can have all my materials in front of me and so forth. Or if they just really want to talk about it, then great. But don't go in with the idea of selling. I have been in more coffees with people who I just go in with the idea of like, hey, I just want to connect with you. You seem pretty cool, and want to learn about what you do, and want to talk about how we can help each other. And you just sit down, and it's nothing but a sales pitch, right? Like here's my brochure for my blah, blah, blah thing that I do. And how many would you like to order today? You're like, oh my God, don't be that person. Don't be that person. You don't want to be that. You don't want to go out to coffee with that person, and you don't want to be that person either. So I hope that this was helpful in helping you figure out different techniques and different ways of developing relationships that are going to help you grow. If you don't have a marketing plan yet, this should be a big part of that marketing plan. And I promise you, you need a marketing plan. I have a cool new program. It's called A Marketing Plan Done in a Day, where we will sit down together and we will create your entire marketing plan in just one day, or we can do it over a couple days if you can't just take out a whole day to do this. But it's a great way to really dive into who's my target audience, what are the key messages I'm offering them. We can even talk about what's your product mix, and then we put together your exact marketing plan. What are the things you're going to do to drive people into your world, then to nurture them to the place where they're ready to buy. Take a look at my website. There's also a QR code right here where you can go right to my website and learn more about this program. It's incredible. I've had clients who've gone through this just in one day. They've taken it, they've run with it, and they've like tripled their income in like a couple months. It's crazy. After this, most people continue to work with me just to help them with accountability, with learning all the things they need to learn, with figuring out the systems they need to put into place to really do their marketing. But we always start with a marketing plan. We start it with this marketing plan done in a day. We talked about this a little earlier. You need to have a really strong magnetic message for people to buy from you. So if you've got a really great product line, but no one's buying yet, you just don't understand why, it could be your messaging. And I offer this really great 90-minute, very quick way of saying, let's just look at your message and really identify, is it targeting your audience in the best way possible? And how can we make tweaks to fix it? And this is an incredibly important thing. One of my coaching clients, we changed the messaging in her group, and within a week, her group grew by like 3 times. It was crazy, and it was just a couple little tweaks. If you don't know what to post on social media, and that's a huge challenge for you, when I was talking earlier about the types of content, and you're like, I got no idea what you're talking about, this is for you. It's a 90-minute session where we go through and put together your social media calendar. Generally, we can get through an entire month in that 90-minute session, and we'll just talk about, here's what the types of posts you're going to do, and start you on, what's the type of content you're going to do every single day, so you know exactly what to do. I do this with my business. It's so nice knowing exactly what to do ahead of time, right? So you're not like, you're sitting here like this. I know I need to post today, but I don't know what to post. If you haven't seen it yet, I have a new podcast. It's called Bosses with Baggage. It's pretty great. I'm so excited. It's business leaders telling their stories about how they've had a dark night of the soul, and it's changed their business and the way that they show up in the world. The reason why I started this podcast is I see so many entrepreneurs who really struggle with the idea of showing up in their business, in their lives, because they've had some dark night of the soul, or they've got some baggage, and they just don't know how to show up in a way that's authentic, that doesn't feel awkward for them. And so this is a way where people talk about their struggles and how their struggles with authenticity and how they've gotten to the other side of it. So check it out. It's the stories on it are incredible, and I can't wait to share more with you. If you're not already in it, you should be if you're watching this, but join my Profitable and Purposeful Entrepreneur. These types of trainings are in there every other week, and I've got tons of free content that you can't find anywhere else. And here's my contact information. If you guys would like to chat with me, here's the ways that you can find me. I would love to work with you, help you to grow your business. And if you have any questions or ideas for future trainings like this, I do these 2 times a month. Please let me know. I would love to work with you. You can direct message me, you can send me an email, whatever the easiest way is for you. And I hope you have a fabulous day. Mwah.